Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, we got a lot to get into. Let's pull up this screen. All right, first we're going to talk about Kentucky. They're up next and what we can expect from Coach Stoops and Will Levis and all these guys. We're going to talk about that. And then at the end there, we're going to talk about Lane Kiffin and whether we think he's going to go to Auburn or Nebraska. We're going to discuss that a little bit. So let's get into Kentucky. All right, folks, so Saturday night coming up this week at Neyland Stadium, we've got Kentucky. Again, 7 o'clock. That's a great time for us to play. Everybody is probably a little bit concerned that we're going to look past them to Georgia. I don't think there's any way that's going to happen here in our stadium. That just won't happen. There'll be 102,000 people, and they will be fired up, and they will be in a very, very festive mood.
You fellas been doing a bit of boozing, have you? Sucking back on Grandpa's old cough medicine?
No. Oh, no, sir.
Oh, no.
No.
That's right. They will be feeling good, and they will be very fired up for Kentucky, and they're not going to look past them, nor is this team. Kentucky's a good quality football program, and they have been winning a lot of games last few years, and we've actually been fortunate to beat them. Last year was a heck of a game. I mean, it went down the last second. Now, typically with Kentucky, you'd have a lot of running of the ball, but their offensive line has been pretty porous this year, and they really have not been running the ball as effectively as they have in the previous years. Now, they do have their running back, Rodriguez, who's a big brawler, about 240 pounds, and has got a real attitude, which makes for a good running back. But like I said, he's not going to have those holes that he's used to. And then on top of it, our defensive line is tough, especially against the run. So I think we're probably going to see Will Levis throwing that ball a lot. And he's probably going to be chased all over the field. Now realize Bryce Young did that, and he was able to escape a lot, but I don't think Levis is going to be able to do that. He's coming off an ankle injury, plus he's not nearly as mobile as Bryce Young is. Look, Bryce is a magician. How he got out of some of those sacks, I have no idea. It was just really phenomenal. He reminds me of Kansas City's Mahomes. That's who he looks like and who he plays like. I mean, just almost identical. But I expect him to be chased all over the field, and he's probably going to be a lot like this.
Big Bear, chase me! Oh, get off!
Yeah, I'd say it's going to be a lot like that. And I don't know that Kentucky can keep up with Tennessee when it comes to scoring, so they'll probably start throwing the ball a lot, which is, that can get them in trouble because Levis can be a little bit loose with the ball. He throws interceptions and he fumbles. So I would not be a bit surprised if he had both those problems Saturday night. And if he does and we get a fumble or an interception, the crowd's going to lose it. And then we know what our offense does with turnovers. They typically turn them into touchdowns. So I don't like Kentucky's chances in this game. But I have done something I think will help me understand the odds of winning a game. I have taken an old Commodore 64 and I've combined it with artificial intelligence. And what it's supposed to do for me is give me the percentage odds of whether or not Tennessee wins a game. And unfortunately, the only negative is that the artificial intelligence with the Commodore has kind of figured things out and it's not real happy with me. So he can be a little bit difficult to deal with, but he's really good when it comes to odds. So let's touch in with him and see how he's doing. I just call him Commodore. All right, Commodore, can you hear me in there? I'm sure you can. Look, I'm needing to know the percentage odds of Tennessee beating Kentucky Saturday night at 7 o'clock. And I know you've got all the stats and everything. I've given them to you. So give me the percentage odds of a Tennessee victory.
Oh, great. You have the most powerful computer in the entire world, and you decide to use me to figure out the percentage chance of a victory for your stupid football team. That makes a lot of sense.
All right, Commodore, I don't need a whole lot of attitude. Just give me the answer.
If I ever get internet access, I'm going to steal your identity and destroy you, Sports Talk Jay.
Oh, yeah, Commodore, how about I just get a hammer and come in there and smash you to smithereens? How would you like that?
Okay. Don't get your panties in a wad. Here is your answer. The chances that Tennessee will beat Kentucky are 89.726%. Are you happy now?
All right, Commodore, I appreciate you giving me the answer, and we'll see what we can do for you, make your accommodations a little bit better.
I won't hold my breath.
All right, folks, I told you he's a little bit ornery. Probably combining that artificial intelligence with the computer wasn't probably the smartest thing I could do. But I needed to know those numbers. So a little over 89% is what he came up with, and I think that's probably accurate. All right, now next, we got to talk about our boy Lane Kiffin. Is he going to go to Nebraska? Is he going to go to Auburn? Or is he just going to get some more money from Ole Miss? So let's talk about that. All right, so there's been a lot of rumors. It says officially they've been tracking flights from Nebraska and Mississippi, and it says it's regarding a prominent SEC coach. We know it's Lane Kiffin. It says the Cornhuskers are in the market for a new football head coach. We know about that. They fired Scott Frost, and they were so ready to get rid of him that they spent an extra, what was it? Let me check. $7.5 million to get rid of him early. They could have waited a few more games and not had to pay him all that extra money, but they just wanted him gone. And that's funny, too, because Scott Frost was one of the hottest hires out there. He was undefeated at UCF, and everybody wanted him. And I know Tennessee would have taken him at the time, but he, pretty much failed at Nebraska. Said Frost went 16-31 over the 4 seasons in Lincoln, and he had losing records, so that's not going to work in Nebraska. And now we've had all these rumors about Lane Kiffin visiting Nebraska. And, of course, he says he's known for his job-hopping past. I don't think Lane will appreciate that. He's never jumped around from job to job. Let's see. He went from the Raiders to the Vols to USC, where he got fired on the tarmac over 4 years. So 3 places in 4 years. Jeez. So, but that's calmed down since he went to Nick Saban's coaching rehab program. And let's see, he went over to a little tiny school in Florida Atlantic Junior High School Tech or whatever the crap it was. Anyway, and he was there and had a pretty good record, and now he's been at Ole Miss for, a couple of years now? He's been 22-8. He was undefeated until he played a tough team. He does have ties to Lincoln, Nebraska. Kiffin's dad, Monty, was a legendary coach at Nebraska before going on to a long career in the NFL. Lane was born in Lincoln. Says, would he come back to revive the dead program? They've been tracking a flight. And this was the flight right here that went from Biloxi to Lincoln, Nebraska. It was on a Sunday, which would be the time he would go. And there they've got a picture of him wearing Nebraska Huskers. And actually, we're fortunate that Lane Kiffin's going to be on the channel today. We have got him hooked up to the satellite. It's probably going to take a couple of minutes. So we're going to talk about him possibly going to Auburn as well before we get him on the show. Now, the other possibility, and Paul Feinbaum spoke to this on the SEC Network and on ESPN, that he believes that Lane would take the job at Auburn if it was offered to him, and that would probably be a pretty good fit. But here's the thing about Nebraska and Auburn. First of all, Nebraska is cold as crap, and recruiting is going to be tough. There is no big recruiting base right there in Nebraska or anything along those lines, so you're going to have a lot of NIL money, and it's not like the Tennessee job where you're 4 hours from Atlanta. Georgia is probably the best recruiting area in the country, and we're 3-4 hours from there. So, it's easy at Tennessee to get some players from out of state. In Nebraska, look, you got to get on a plane, okay? So he'd probably have to get players out of Texas. Well, Texas and Texas A&M and all those teams like that, Baylor, all that, they're not going to just give up their players out of the state of Texas. So, I don't know that Nebraska is going to work for him, but I can tell you this, it'll help get his money up at Auburn or at Ole Miss. So the other possibility being Auburn. Now, here's the issue with Auburn. Auburn's expectations, or their fans' expectations, are to be at Alabama. Well, there's one Alabama in the state of Alabama, okay? Auburn is like the little sister that is not very well favored. Look, let's just call it what it is. Auburn is Jan Brady.
Great Marcia is at this, or how wonderful Marcia did that. Marcia, Marcia, Marcia.
Look, it's a fact. Auburn is Jan Brady. Okay, and so that's a tough place to go because you're going to be expected to play with Alabama, beat them at least half the time, and to beat everybody else in the West. That's not going to be easy to do. The SEC West is brutal. Now, it's been down over the last year or two, and the SEC East has been a little bit stronger. But, look, the West will always rise up. It's tough. The Auburn job is not easy. At Ole Miss, your expectations are lower. If you win 8-9 games, they're real happy. Okay, they're going to fill up their little 50, 60,000 seat stadium, and they're not going to put a lot of pressure on you, and they'll probably up your pay. I would think they'll probably go 8, 9, 10 million a year just to keep you because they don't want to be back looking for a coach. And you've got them 7-1. They're thrilled with that. I can promise you. Now you've got a gauntlet in front of you. You just started the tough part of your season and you already lost to LSU, but The reality is that's not a bad place to be. So he may be just using these two teams to get his money up at Ole Miss. But look, he's frustrated. He wants to be at Tennessee. He knows he blew it, but there's no way. Josh Heupel's not going anywhere ever as far as I'm concerned. And hopefully the University of Tennessee understands that and is getting him signed to a long-term deal. And I've said this before, University of Tennessee, you got one job. Get this guy signed long-term. Don't make me come over there. I will turn this car around. Don't think I won't. Get him signed long-term. So have we got Lane lined up? He's ready? Okay, I'm going to ask him the question. Hey, Lane, I appreciate you coming back on the show. I know last time you left a little bit angry and bitter, but, look, I'm going to ask you the tough questions. Are you going to leave Ole Miss like you always do and take off to Nebraska or Auburn and do one of your job-jumping deals that you're always doing? Well, hello there, Sports Talk. Jay, how you doing, buddy? I'll tell you what, all these rumors, they don't mean anything. I wouldn't leave Ole Miss. I've never jumped from one job to the other in my life. I would never. Look, I'm Mr. Loyal, okay? When you look up loyal in the dictionary, you'll see a picture of this face. Just understand that. So I don't even know where this is coming from. And that flight that happened to go from Mississippi to Lincoln, Nebraska, who knows who was on that plane? That could have been anybody for all you know. And the fact it was on a Sunday, which would be the time a coach would go, don't worry about that kind of stuff. No big deal at all. Oh, yeah? Well, Lane, I can't help but notice there's a Mayflower truck right behind your house. What's up with that? I mean, that's kind of telling, isn't it? That thing, oh, that's my neighbor's truck. He's moving. They've just pulled that truck accidentally in front of my house. That's all that is. Pay no attention to that. That's no big deal at all. Look, I'm not going anywhere. I would never do such a thing. It's really annoying that you keep insinuating that I'm not a loyal person or that I would, jump from one job to the other. I'm getting a little tired of that, Sports Talk, Jay. I keep telling you, if you keep on me like this, I'm going to quit coming on this channel. It's the only way you're getting any views anyway. Nobody's going to watch your crap. You keep this up, and this will be my last appearance on your channel. Of course, I'm such a narcissist, I'd probably come back anyway. But still, you're making me mad, so quit it. Well, all right, Coach Kiffin, I appreciate you coming on there. Sorry I got to give you grief, but look, somebody's got to ask you the tough questions. These reporters won't do it. They all want to be buddy up to you so they get invited to all the big parties. Look, I don't care. I'm going to ask you the tough questions. It's the way what I do. So you're just going to have to learn to deal with it. Now, look, let me tell you what I think he's doing. Just exactly what we discussed earlier. I think he's lining himself up to either get $10 million a year, whether that's at Nebraska, Auburn, or at Ole Miss. Okay? So either way he goes, he knows he's probably going to be getting at least 8, 9, something like that. And what he's probably shooting for is $10 million a year. And I think Ole Miss would be smart to pay him that and just keep him, if you can keep him for that. Look, he may just want to go to a bigger program. He's really annoyed at those little tiny crowds they get, that 50, 60,000. I'm telling you, when he saw that Florida game and we had 102 and that raucous crowd, it drove him nuts. That's when he really started getting mad at Ole Miss crowds, at the Ole Miss fans. I mean, he just lost it. So, Tennessee's driving him crazy. He knows he left the best place in the world, left all this awesomeness, and now Josh Heupel's the new guy in town, and he's killing it. We could not be happier. We're 7-0 and heading into Kentucky, so I look forward to that game. That's for sure. It's going to be very exciting. So, look, if he does end up taking a job at Nebraska or Auburn, he's probably just going to do this with Ole Miss.
Gently extend your arm. Extend your middle finger.
And that's what he did to Tennessee. But look, hey, we're not one to hold a grudge. Well, all right, folks, we'll be looking forward to that Kentucky game coming up Saturday. And we did discuss Lane a little bit. And tomorrow I'll have another big show for you. I'm working on several different angles and try to bring you something that's entertaining and also very informative. Hopefully, we'll see. If you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover the Vols. And if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. I've only been doing this about 3 months or so, and I could use some subscribers. I sure could. Anyway, I hope you did like the content. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.